All right, Rob, let me throw this out. We've been talking about Golden State reaching the finals 6 times in 8 years. This is strictly basketball, Rob, not life. Everybody can do what they want. If KD decided he wants to go back to OKC for the lifestyle, heck, he wants to go play for the Wizards because he wants to go back to Prince George's County where he grew up. All like credit to KD. Do you, man? Be happy. Just from a basketball standpoint, do you think he made a mistake leaving the Warriors?
Nope, not at all. I think he did what is ultimately like to heighten the potential of his legacy and what he wants to do. I think it was important that he left that place. He did what he needed to do there. He wasn't just a bandwagon guy where, he didn't have an imprint on any of those championships. I think it's hard to deny. We heard Rick Bucher earlier, and he covers that team, been in the Bay Area. That's his home turf. He's been around it and said that they wouldn't have won without him. That's his conviction. That's his opinion. And I tend to agree with him. But my point is, he has a chance to reshape the way people think about him. Now, it hasn't gone well with injuries and all kinds of other situations, but he still has a chance. And I think he made the right decision in the way that they kind of mocked him. I remember the general manager made a joke about him being there, and who else? And then they kind of dissed him with the video of the great Warriors or whatever. I just think.
Well, in the argument, of course, with Draymond.
Yeah, you know what I mean, and
too.
Draymond
saying we don't need you.
Yeah, and all that, right?
And they might not. We'll see. We'll see.
But I'm saying, with all that kind of stuff, I just think he just did what ultimately could wind up being good. And he don't have to win 4 championships, 5. If he can win 1 in Brooklyn and with the Nets, I just think people will look at him and go, man, okay, he had to finally lead a team. It all came together. He played great or whatever, and they won a championship, won a Finals MVP again. And I think people will look at him differently. And I don't think they ever would have looked at him differently had he stayed at Golden State. So I think
that's where I disagree with you. I do think he made a mistake basketball wise. But you pointed out a few slights, right? We'll call them slights that Golden State threw his way, and that's fair. If he don't want to be around it, I get it. But they know they needed him. I mean, Steph was flying to New York to see KD, before he decided to go to Brooklyn. But here's where I disagree mainly with you, Rob. If I think, first of all, when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, you weren't alone, but you were among the many that were killing him. I was in the vast minority. I don't even remember anybody else really that was in the national media, like on the spotlight, that wasn't killing him other than me. And I'm sure there was a person or two, but and here's why I didn't kill him. And I was proven to be right because I knew, first of all, he's going to win championships. He was going to be Finals MVP at least once, if not twice, which he was. And once he won, I knew the same people killing him we're going to be praising him because it happened with LeBron. And I knew that was coming. And I was like, I ain't going that route. That's ridiculous. And so I think, Rob, when he won those championships, even just the first one, but certainly 2, and he played so well, I think people had already moved beyond, okay, he went to a 73-win team that beat him in the playoffs. Like, that's weak. I think people had moved beyond that. There still, obviously, was in people's minds a mental asterisk because the team was so stacked, right? Walt Frazier said it. Others have alluded to it. So that was still there. But, Rob, I think if he stays in Golden State, they win at least 1 more and probably at least 2 more, to be honest, if not more than that. And I think that's, as they would keep winning, I think, especially when you lost to Toronto without him, then the feeling really was they need him. And I think people would have eventually, Rob, it would have been like almost forgotten. Not forgotten, but like I don't think people would have really held it against him anymore. As they kept winning.
I disagree. I believe that there still would be this feel of, yeah, he won, sure he won, whatever, and would kind of discount it. And I think if for him, it's important just to go somewhere where you can make your own legacy, and he couldn't do that with the Warriors, despite because Steph was still there.
Well, it was always going to be Steph's team.
Right, Clay is there. You know what I mean? Draymond. I just think, like, it worked for him in a couple of years, but I think ultimately he's like, you know what? I'm a big enough star that I could go do my own thing and set myself up. And I'm just saying,
but I'm gonna do what you always do.
It could wind up having a happy ending. I'm
gonna do what you always do. What if he don't win the championship in Brooklyn?
Well, then you have to go back and reevaluate everything and say, at least he did win 2 championships. He was the Finals MVP. That'll be on his resume. But then it didn't ultimately work out, and that would be a demerit.
So you think it would have been? Again, we'll see it play out. He's got several years left,
right?
But if he doesn't win it, and they got to win it too, right? Although, I mean, I guess you could say even if Golden State doesn't win it without him, and he doesn't win it in Brooklyn, he still should have stayed because together they probably would have won.
Yeah, but I think if they don't win, if they lose this year, say in the finals, and they don't win, people will look back and go, the only thing, Chris, and there'll be 2 things, and it doesn't mean that they didn't win and they weren't a part of it, but they will look back at that 3-1 choke job, and they will look at that first championship where all the players were hurt, and then they would just nitpick. And if you want to say where the Warriors are, I'm not saying that you would say that they aren't champions or anything, but you would nitpick and look at, wait a minute, okay, we remember they won this, okay, all these guys are out. Then they choked.
But really?
Because
we could nitpick half of the NBA championship.
No doubt. But I'm saying if you're trying to put them up, if you're trying to say that the Warriors are this great team because they went to 6 finals in 8 years, if they lose, you start to look at them and start to say, why did they lose? And what went on? You know what I mean?
You can't. I mean, they can't be the Jordan Bulls.
No, I'm not saying that. But if they were to lose this one,
3-3 and 6-8, 3-3. I mean, it ain't bad. I mean, I hear you in that you got to win it, right? You get there, you got to win it. But they won't have a losing record. You know what I'm saying? At least not yet, not this year. But